Good morning, everyone. It is 10:01, and we are calling this meeting of the Agricultural Labor Relations Board to order. Before we dive in, please, even if you can hear me now, we do have Spanish interpretation available, and in order to hear the sound at optimum levels throughout the meeting, please, if you're in your Zoom application, go to the bottom of the screen, hit the language button, and select your preferred language, either English or Spanish. Additionally, a friendly reminder, and I'm reminding myself as well, please try and speak slowly so the interpreter can keep up with us, and we're very grateful for her today. So I will give everyone a moment to do that and then have our executive officer relay this message in Spanish as well.
Buenos días y gracias por acompañarnos hoy en nuestra junta. Por favor, ahora tenemos servicio de interpretación en el programa de Zoom. Dentro de su programa de Zoom, hacia abajo de la pantalla, hay un glóbulo que dice interpretación. Por favor, elija inglés o español, que le va a dejar escuchar nuestra junta. Y como recordatorio, por favor, hablen lentamente y en alta voz para que nuestra intérprete pueda interpretar lo que diga. Gracias.
Thank you, Santiago. Okay, first I will call this meeting of the board, call the roll. Board Member Broad?
Present.
Board Member Flores?
Present.
Board Member Hall?
Present.
Thank you. And unfortunately, Board Member Lightstone is not able to join us today. Also present for today is our staff, our Executive Secretary, Santiago Avila Gomez, who is providing technical support. We will start today with our open session, and then prior to going into closed session, there will be an opportunity for public comment on any portion of the meeting. And I will go into detail about how to make public comment and how we will go through the queue once we get to that portion. We do ask that during the duration of the meeting, in order to try and ensure everyone can fully participate and hear everything that's going on, that you mute your phone or device so that we have optimum sound. And these instructions are also available on our agenda, which is on our homepage at alrb.ca.gov. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, which is to approve the meeting minutes from January 10th, 2024. May I have a motion?
Move approval.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Hall. Seconds. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. The minutes have been approved. I have several, next is our chair report. I have several updates for everyone since it's been a while since we have gathered. One moment, I've lost my screen. Okay. First, I am very pleased to share that Governor Newsom has reappointed our colleague, Board Member Broad, which we're very thrilled about. So thank you, Governor Newsom. We're excited to have Barry continue to join us. We also have several updates during our last meeting. Unintentionally, we were running in parallel to the governor's introduction of the budget, and we have two very exciting budget change proposals, and that's going to be detailed more in our Chief of Administration's report later in the meeting, so I'll save that for then, but so far, going well. We do also have a new board staff member that I'm very pleased is here with us today. She sent our first meeting agenda out yesterday, or her first meeting agenda out, Satya Mathan. So Satya, welcome. We're excited to have you join us. She will be serving as Special Assistant to the Executive Secretary, and for staff and those members of the public that may be appearing for the board, you may be seeing her name on emails or correspondence. So welcome, Satya. We're very excited to have you. Additionally, I want to share a few events that I and also several members of our staff have participated in. As some of you may be aware, the California Government Operations Agency has been leading a leadership seminar series for executive leaders across the state. We've participated in several forums, and most recently, the General Counsel and I participated in a forum on diversity, equity and inclusion, and how to really foster those principles throughout the work of our agencies, both public-facing and internally, so that we can be optimizing or operating, I should say, at the highest standards. So we had a recent, very insightful convening around that about a month and a half ago. Additionally, as part of our budget change proposal, stepping back about a year, our Labor Secretary, Stuart Knox, really put out a call to action, spurred by several things, including the tragic shooting at Half Moon Bay, asking all of us to see what we could do to enhance our services to and the way we serve the farm worker population. Based on that call to action, there have been several of us, myself included, as well as the General Counsel, who have been working with partners across the labor agencies at both agency itself, as well as Department of Industrial Relations, the Labor Commissioner's Office, Cal OSHA, and EDD, to brainstorm various strategies about how we can improve our service levels. Those are captured in the budget change proposal, the Rural Engagement BCP. And while we are very hopeful about passage of that proposal, we've been operating on a dual track where we are also discussing, here's what we can do with the benefit of these resources, but what can we do in the event that we don't receive the full amount or none at all. And so about a month and a half ago, there was a convening for executives across the labor entities, including the ALRB and high-level management, to discuss how to operationalize these plans. And I want to thank the General Counsel, as well as our regional directors, our Deputy General Counsel, and our Communications and Outreach Manager, Daniela Ramirez, for joining that convening. We had a full-day brainstorming session, again, to see how we can be more effective and build upon some of the successes and some of the feedback that we've received from staff, as well as from community-based organizations and the farm worker population. And I was really pleased that our team our full team was able to join us, and that they lended their expertise to the larger group, and we're starting to implement those efforts. And hopefully they will be bolstered by approval of the budget change proposal later this year. Additionally, the General Counsel and I have been participating in some legislative meet and greets. We met with the respective labor chairs last week. We met with Assembly Labor and Employment Committee Chair Liz Ortega, and then Senator Smallwood Cuevas, to discuss, just update them since they're new to their committee on who we are, what we do, share some of our priorities and initiatives, and learn more about their work. And those were both, I thought, very productive meetings, and gave us a lot to think back on. And then lastly, on the calendar coming up next week, I will be headed to Santa Maria to observe the wage claim clinic that the Labor Commissioner has held, that's now really expanded to other, discussing other labor rights and protections, and that our staff have been participating in for over a year. That's a monthly clinic in Santa Maria, and one of the initiatives that we're hoping to expand upon are these kind of one-stop shop ideas, and having outreach opportunities in areas where we may not have offices, and kind of meeting farm workers where they're at. So I'm excited to head down to Santa Maria and observe that. And with that, that concludes the chair's report. Our next agenda item is the Executive Secretary's report on complaints, unfair labor practices, and elections. Santiago?
Thank you. And good morning, Chair Hasid. I'm going to try to scooch over a little bit here to get the mic. Again, good morning, Chair Hasid and members of the board. For my report today, it is recapping those items that have occurred since, or action and matters that have occurred since our last meeting on January 10th. There have been 2 representation petitions filed. One actually was on the 10th of January, and it was in Olive Hill Greenhouses, Inc., and that case matter is 2024 RM001. The certification issued in that matter on January 17th. Objections were due January 22nd, and no objections were filed. Second representation petition was a majority support petition, also filed in Wonderful Nurseries, LLC, matter number 2024 RM002, and that was filed on February 23rd. Certification issued on March 4th. Objections are due on March 11th. Turning to complaints, there's been one complaint withdrawn in Sonoma Cho, doing business as Flora Terra, and the General Counsel filed her motion for withdrawal on February 16th. Turning to administrative orders, there's been one issued in Terra Nova Farms, and that's ALRB Admin Order Number 2024-01. That issued on January 17th, and it was an order granting the General Counsel's request for subpoena enforcement in case number 2023 CE 019 VIS. Finally, turning to pending matters or returning matters. In the case of a pending matter, it's Edwin Brazil Dairy, case number 2023 CE 013 VIS. There, the General Counsel filed a request for subpoena enforcement on February 23rd. And finally, returning to the board after it had set for hearing a majority support petition objections in DMB Packing Corp., doing business as the Damari Company, case number 2023 RM001 VIS. That certification issued on October 23rd. Objections were filed on October 30th. Briefing closed on February 5th, and now it's pending a recommended decision by the investigative hearing examiner, and that was done pursuant to the board's admin order, which I'm not reporting on, as it occurred prior to our last meeting. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Santiago. On to our next agenda item. We do not have a litigation report today, so we will go right to the General Counsel's report with General Counsel Julie Montgomery. Julie?
Good morning, Chair Hasid, board members. Good to see everyone here. I will start by highlighting a few settlements the General Counsel staff has obtained since our last meeting. First, we have West Coast Berry Farms. We settled a charge that was pending an investigation against that company, and they agreed to pay nearly $60,000 and offer reinstatement to 18 of its berry harvesters who it didn't rehire after they participated in a strike during the prior season. The workers had gone on a 2-day strike in 2022 maybe it was 21, to request a raise in their per box piece rate wage. And the employer ended up agreeing to raise the wage to 15 cents per box, and the strike ended. But then the next year they were not recalled to work. And as part of the remedies, in addition to the unpaid wages, the employer also offered reinstatement and agreed to cease and desist violating the act, and we also got the usual noticing, posting, and mailing remedies in that case. And in Betaravia Farms, LLC, a leafy green harvester in Santa Barbara County filed a charge on July 18th, 2023, alleging that Betaravia Farms and La Bastida Brothers retaliated against the worker by scrutinizing the crew's work more, changing their work conditions, and telling them that that they could find work elsewhere if they didn't like the terms of employment in response to the workers' complaints about other coworkers' use of drugs and alcohol, work-related accidents, and also the employer's lack of holiday pay. The parties reached a settlement with the ALRB and agreed to cease and desist order as usual and standard noticing and mailing remedies. And there were no monetary amounts owed in that case. And then finally, there's Goal Island Farms and Puro Vida Berries. And in that case, a strawberry harvester in Ventura County filed a charge in December of 2022 alleging that Goal Island had retaliated against him and others by threatening to discipline them, scrutinizing their work, and laying off the entire crew because they raised concerns about how the foreman treated them, that the company was paying more to H-2A workers than domestic workers, and also undue pressure regarding production. After the charge was filed, Goal Island reinstated the crew and they worked through the end of the season. And then the same worker filed a subsequent charge in September of 2023, alleging that Goal Island, through its successor Puro Vida Berries, retaliated against him by failing to offer him employment and not rehiring him because of the previous charge he had filed. So the parties settled those matters with the ALRB, and the company offered the worker employment. We'll pay the worker a little under $4,000 in lost wages, and we also received the standard noticing remedies, and we will be conducting a supervisor training in that case. So those are the settlements that we have achieved. In addition, I have just a few outreach events that our staff has been busy participating in to highlight. Just in January and February, since the last meeting, they've done a community health worker training with the Tulare County Health and Human Agency and their partner organizations at the ALRB office in Visalia, just about workers' rights. Our staff did a Spanish radio interview with Mixteco interpretation on a show called Empoderando la Comunidad, Empowering the Community in English, hosted by Radio Indígena in Oxnard. And they did a live Spanish radio interview on a show called Encuentro Latino in Marin County at a Point Reyes station. And they also did a training that was in person and televised for various nonprofits and the Santa Paula council members, city council members, which is in eastern Ventura County. They did a radio show again with Encuentro Latino, and that was broadcast several different times. And they did a tabling and short presentation about the ALRB to workers at a labor commissioner clinic in Coachella at the TODEC office, which is a nonprofit in Coachella. And then finally, they did a Spanish radio interview on a show called Dignidad y Justicia, hosted by Radio Indígena in Oxnard. And there were other events too, but that's just a little highlight of some of them. So again, they've been busy spreading the word in the community and trying to help connect with workers and notify people of who we are at the ALRB, what we're doing, and the resources we provide. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions of any of my colleagues. Okay.
Yeah,
right,
and I'll just add too that I just want to give a shout out to our regional office staff just for maintaining all of this great outreach work, in addition to handling the various petitions that are coming through, which is a lot of work in a very short, compacted amount of time, and then just all the cases and investigations that they're working on moving forward simultaneously. So I know it's a lot. And just really want to acknowledge everyone's efforts in continuing to move all our work forward and ensure that we're we're keeping all the balls in the air. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. I echo that. Moving on to our next agenda item is our Administrative Services Report with our Chief Administrative Officer, Brian Doherty. Brian?
Good morning, Chair Seed, board members. Happy to kind of go over in a little more detail the two budget change proposals that are included as part of the proposed governor's budget that was released on January 10th and is currently under review by the legislature. The first proposal that Chair Hassid kind of already highlighted a little bit about is our Rural Engagement BCP, which is a Labor and Workforce Development Agency proposal that includes resources for both DIR and ALRB. Specifically, the resources that are included for ALRB is limited term funding for 12 positions. It's 1 attorney 4, 3 attorney 3s, 3 field examiner 1s, 1 field examiner 2, 1 field examiner 3, a senior legal typist, a staff manager 1, and 1 AGPA. And in addition to that, it includes contract funds for a total of about $4.4 million that would be available each year for the next 3 years is what the proposal is for. Specifically, the funding and position authority that's being requested in this proposal is to set up the outreach and services clinics in kind of the rural communities that were highlighted in Chair Hassid's opening remarks, specifically kind of the one-shop stop approach that would in partnership with our community-based organizations include staffing resources from ALRB as well as DIR, including labor commissioner and Cal OSHA related staff and potentially even EDD staff as well. This proposal also highlights kind of the development of the no wrong door approach policy, which would essentially ensure that in these one-stop shops, workers have the ability to come into these rural clinics and be able to engage state resources, regardless of whether it's an ALRB issue or a DIR issue or an EDD. It can just be a general workers convening so that they can get answers to all of their questions. And it involves, training and outreach materials being developed for kind of workers' rights and educating state staff to more broadly understand all the aspects of workers' rights as it relates to not only ALRB, but Cal OSHA and Labor Commissioner Office and EDD related enforcement activities so that we can kind of break down those silos between all those organizations and be able to provide the necessary information in a way that our farm worker community can be engaged and not have to hunt for that information across the various organizations. So that proposal is currently, we had our first legislative hearing on this proposal last Tuesday on the 27th, and in the Assembly Sub 5 committee hearing, which we had very positive feedback from the subcommittee chair. And at the time, there was no opposition that was raised to those proposals, but the issue was held open, so there was no action taken on it. Our next scheduled hearing is on the Senate side. It's scheduled for April 18th at 9:30 on the Senate Sub 5 that will hear that same proposal as well. In addition to our strategic rural engagement proposal, we also had a second proposal, which was a BCP requesting additional funding and upgrades for our general counsel management structure. Specifically, the proposal was requesting $89,000 in general fund to upgrade 3 specific positions within the general counsel programs. One would be to upgrade our regional director positions to the attorney supervisor classification. and the other would be to upgrade funding for our deputy general counsel position to create a assistant chief counsel position. Specifically, this proposal is to address some of the recruitment retention issues that we've had with our management positions in their general counsel program, as well as to address some of the salary compaction issues that we've faced as a result of this, the attorneys classification consolidation project that was adopted last fiscal year, which consolidated many of the state attorney classifications and is creating fewer classifications at the attorney level and having kind of more broad classifications that were being utilized. As a result of those class consolidations and salary changes, we've got a much we have a salary compaction issue and a recruitment issue in our management structure. And so this is the proposal that we put forward. Unfortunately, ALRB classifications are specific to ALRB, meaning our regional directors are the only two regional director positions within state workforce, and it was not included at the time as part of that class consolidations. So what we're proposing in this BCP would be to essentially change them to the attorney supervisor classification, which is the statewide classification that all of the other departments are utilizing, and hopefully that will encourage a larger candidate pools in the future as those positions become available, and it will provide a wider salary base moving forward for promotional opportunities for staff as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may have about these proposals.
I don't have any questions, but I was very excited when our budget chair, Assemblywoman Quirk Silva, said we made her day. I thought that was a good sign. So just want to thank everyone, the General Counsel, our Deputy Secretary at Labor Agency, Sebastian Sanchez, and others. This proposal, the Role Engagement BCP, will both actually really build on work that precedes me for years and years. And so real credit, particularly to Julie and Brian and our HR team on the General Counsel program upgrades. I know that's something, we've spent a lot of time chatting about, and really want to commend you all for pushing that through. I take it as a good sign. We didn't get any questions. Yeah, excited. We'll keep going through the budget process this year at the legislature, but very excited about where we are so far. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Okay, all right. Thank you, Brian. Our next agenda item is legislation. We don't have a legislative update. The next agenda item is regulations, and we do have an update with our Chief Board Counsel, Todd Ratchin. Todd.
The Office of Administrative Law will be publishing in its regulatory notice register this Friday, March 8th, the board's notice of proposed rulemaking for the regulations to implement the statutory changes to the Act under Assembly Bill number 113 from last year that involves the majority support petition statute as well as some statutory amendments modifying the appellate bond requirement in unfair labor practice and mandatory mediation and conciliation procedures. And so information regarding the regulatory language previously approved by the board at a meeting in October is available on our website on our rulemaking page, and additional information will be forthcoming and available also on Friday after the notice register is published. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Todd. I do want to just note, we really, once the public comment period opens, we really do hope that we get feedback. And these regulations, we drafted them, and now there's a few petitions that have come before us, but for those that have participated in our proceedings and appear before our board, we really think it's important to get feedback from everyone in order to make sure that these regulations fulfill both the policy aims as well as are practical and make sure that the statutes work and these processes work as intended. So please take the time to go through and weigh in so we can see. Oh, yes, Todd, go ahead.
I neglected to say, and just wanted to add, so based on the March 8th publication date, the 45-day public comment period will expire on April 22nd. And so that will be the public comment period for the rule, and once it goes live on Friday.
Okay. Board Member Broad, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, next we will head over to, our next agenda item is public comment. Please be advised that the board is unable to adjudicate, comment, or resolve any pending case matter before the board. I will first ask our Executive Secretary, Santiago Avila Gomez, to go through the queue in case anyone has indicated they wish to make public comment ahead of the meeting. We will then open it up. Anyone that wishes to make public comment may do so. Please indicate that you would like to make public comment by one of several ways. If you're in Zoom, you can use the raise hand feature, or you can send a message in the chat. Please do not make substantive messages in the chat. We ask that you deliver any comments through the open forum so everyone can see. Please state your name and your organization if applicable. And again, a reminder, if you're not speaking, to please be on mute. I will first go to Santiago. Do we have anyone in the queue?
No one's in the queue.
Okay, we'll hold for a moment and see if anyone wishes to make public comment.
Not seeing anyone.
Okay. All right. With that, the board will now adjourn, or recess, into closed session. Thank you. Good afternoon. This is Victoria. The board has returned from a closed session. It is 12:04. We'll go to our last agenda item, which is announcements. Our next meeting will be a special meeting, so the board may convene in closed session on Thursday, March 14th at 10 a.m. The meeting notice has been distributed and posted on our website, and participants can either attend at our office. We'll be at our Sacramento headquarters location at 1325 J Street, or virtually via Zoom. And with that, the meeting is now adjourned at 12:05. Thank you.